Ladies and gentlemen, this is Tommy Pie. Welcome back to another Origins mod video. Today we are ranking the LATO Origins. And not gonna lie, these Origins are probably my favourite despite how ridiculous and overpowered some can get. But like always, I'd appreciate it if you subscribed if you're interested in the Origins mod. And I do have a playlist with all my Origins content in it, but let's begin the list, shall we? So this is all my opinions, so please respect that. And just kind of comment where I've gone wrong instead of disliking, and just your opinion anyway, because I'm interested. I also may do an updated version of this video at some point, so those useful comments really help. And one final thing, I am aware that I take PvP into consideration a lot, so just remember that. But in 15th place, we have the Lava Sharkian. As you can see, these guys can swim in lava, and they go quite fast. So yeah, I'm just gonna do a little intro to this thing, and then I'll do the analysis part like I usually do. They can only inch on land and jump forward like this, so the mobility on land is not good at all. You can do this, where you basically pounce forward quite far actually. And like the Blaze Bomb, when you're on fire, your damage will do additional attacks. I mean, no, your attacks will do additional damage. So on to the analysis. I think the concept of this Origin is great, but I just don't think there's much to do when you're swimming around. Sure, if you're playing a multiplayer, things might be a bit better. Like you could be the netherite miner or something like that, because you can access the deeper, darker parts of the nether. Like, okay, that's perfect actually, brilliant. Also a little reminder that ancient debris, you can't literally mine under here and collect it like that. Yeah. But yeah, on your own, things are going to be quite challenging. Food and all that, because of this land drawback, it's going to be painful. But it's fun swimming around in the nether, and it's really cool to see what it looks like underwater if it was one huge lava ocean. But if you have any ideas of things you could do with this Origin, please let me know in the comments. Number 14, I've ranked the Trashling. Now these big men can literally eat everything. Now because they're quite unhealthy, like most PC gamers, they are weaker, slower, and as you saw back there, they have less health. Due to eating so many foods, you're not able to be poisoned or get sick, and when eating, you have a chance to create bone meal. Fascinating. So, I love this Origin, but it's weak. Yeah, sure, it's brilliant that it can eat everything and stuff. That's a really great ability, but it just needs more advantages in my opinion. I'd never go with picking this, but it's quite funny. Next, we have the Dimensional Being. These guys can warp to another dimension. Bruh. They have insanely long arms that can only place and break blocks. It can't actually hit entities or place lava buckets, which is very, very sad. Their skin has a weird shade of, I don't know what colour, but I guess purple, which is my favourite colour, but that's not purple. It actually kind of suits my skin, not gonna lie. You're apparently made out of mist, so you have less hearts, and you take water and you take damage in water. What's wrong with me? And on top of this, you may have noticed already, you're slower as well. But another thing I noticed is that it said you can adapt to dimensions with ease, and I think I figured out what it means. So I basically just warped to the nether, and you can see already I don't have any slowness, but I have constant fire resistance, and I guess that's what it means. Please let me know if you know any other kind of features with this ability here. So obviously the most dominant ability with this Origin is the dimensional shifting. And it's probably the most defensive ability in the game. Because of course in multiplayer, if they're chasing you, you can just go to another dimension. But of course, that's actually really, really dangerous and could make you end up in a worse situation. When experimenting with this Origin, there have been times when I've spawned in a place like this, and of course you can't clutch that. If you can do hay bale or boat clutches, then that won't be as bad. But overall, shifting dimensions could actually make you in a worse situation than the one that you shifted for. So the longer reach is of course extremely convenient, but it doesn't give you much of a PvP advantage because can't lava or water bucket with that. But I guess mobility wise, it's going to be really, really handy for building yourself bridges like that. And I mean, who knows what kind of epic clutches you can come up with when using this thing. I mean, when running away. Sorry, I've just realised I've said loads. But, if you're running away from another player, you could use these long arms for your advantage, you know what I mean? But yeah, this Origin really does not have much in the way of offense, and as cool as it is, the drawbacks they hit really, really hard. Number 12, we have the Cobblestonian, and this is a funny one and quite brain cell damaging. So you'll instantly notice with this Origin I'm going a lot slower, and my face is made out of cobblestone, and I have double health. Oh yeah, and I'm also quite small as well. But alongside this, you can't wield a shield. Pressing my right mouse button right now, nothing's happening. You can't jump very high. You take more damage if someone attacks you with a pickaxe. And you can eat rocks. And blimey, that actually gives quite a lot of saturation. Having this smaller hitbox and double the brute force of humans makes this origin pretty good in PvP. Of course, pickaxes do damage, but it's not that much. As this origin, I take being able to eat cobble as an advantage, because you know, cobblestone generators, and it's pretty easy to get early on in the game as well. Not being able to hold a shield is always a bit cringe, but it can always be countered by just holding a totem in your hand instead. Of course, the biggest drawback with this thing is the slowness and terrible jumping. It gives it horrible mobility and makes the origin far less offensive and defensive, as if it's losing a fight it can't escape that well because it can't even fit under one block, and if it is winning it'll struggle to catch up because it's very very slow. It also can't climb like Inchling, so it makes this whole climbing up block things quite awkward, to be honest. Number 11, we have the Axolotl. And this is basically if Merling and Inchling had a baby. These guys have many of the Merling perks that I'm not going to explain because you all know, but it's very very slow on land, and as you can see it's a lot smaller than usual. They can't take full damage, but I think that's a bit pointless because if you're spending all your time in the ocean, you know, it's just not very relevant. They can't wear any armor that it has more armor protection than chainmail, so I cannot put on this iron chestplate. And here you go, just your basic Merling stuff here. Oh yeah, they are smaller appetite, but they have this really cool ability called Regenerate. If I press my primary activation button thing, it'll give me Regeneration 2 for 9 or 10 seconds, and I mean that's regen 2, you know. But anyway, before you get mad at me for not ranking an ocean species at the bottom, this origin is specialised for the ocean, and for the people that want to have a different survival experience. Of course it's ranked lower than usual because of the land drawbacks and just my general opinion, but I must admit, I had a very very hard time fighting Sparks Brian when he was an Inchling in the water in my last video. Okay. For this one to be much faster, water adapted, and to give itself regen 2 for a bit, it's going to be horrible to hit in combat, and despite it only being able to have maximum chainmail armor, if you can't hit this thing, it's 1. Number 10, quite similar to the Axolotl, another underwater thing, is Sharkian, which is basically buffed Merling. So of course it's got all that Merling stuff right here, but like the Lava Sharkian, it can only inch its way on land, it can only eat meat, no veg. It can do this, which is crazy, and while it's in the water it'll actually do more damage. So again, there's not much to say about this one, except the increased damage does 2.5 more damage. Yeah, arguably this is nerfed Merling because of the land drawback, but because it's an ocean origin and it's made for the ocean buffs are probably far more effective than Merling's, and the dash ability is also very cool, and it'll really work out for getting away from other underwater species like Guardians, Elder Guardians, and God knows what else there is. So moving away from the ocean, we have the Astronos. And this thing, it can swim in the air, so it can basically fly. It takes no full damage, it can't wear iron armor, or hold shields up. And yeah, this is definitely one of the coolest origins. It is the first origin that I've personally discovered that can somewhat fly. You may be thinking this flying is very very slow, but you know, this is quite fast. If you're really cool, you could try this. But the problem with this origin is the brute force. It's basically non-existent. And sure, you can just fly away, but in late game people have power 5 bows and hella powerful crossbows that will just finish you off, and I mean that's excluding elytras. Talking of elytra, it'd be kinda cool to just swim your way up and then, you know, glide down really fast with elytra. That sounds quite fun actually. But overall, this origin is very unique and really fun to play as. In 8th place, we have the Daltok. Like Piglin, these guys deal more damage with netherite and gold, and it has a really strange ability where you can use netherrack as cobblestone. Look at that. That is wicked. It can heal itself a bit faster. You are able to be ridden by other players. You can only eat meat, and as you can see, you're a lot quicker than others. You're immune to all types of fire damage. You're familiar with the mobs, I guess that means they won't hurt you or something like that. I haven't really tested it out, not gonna lie. But then, your best armor is chainmail. So of course this max chainmail thing is a fat drawback and the biggest one. But yeah, it looks like you're gonna be stuck in gold armor if you stick it in the nether. playing as Daltog. The +3 damage is a lot when using netherite and gold. Hang on. There we go. Yeah, 13 damage. 10 plus 3 is 13, I think. So yeah, this +3 damage is quite a lot when using netherite or gold, but I found out you don't actually need to use netherite or gold things to do this damage. So as you can see just then, I did 4 damage instead of 1. So your fist is basically a wooden sword, but it's extremely fast. This must be a bug or something, I don't know, please let me know. Being able to obtain cobble in the nether is great for keeping this origin in the nether, and I just think it's a brilliant idea. Being a meat eater means no golden apple or god apple, which is a big bummer, because he's used loads in the late stages of game. The extra speed is of course great for PvP, and this alongside healing faster could really pack a punch if you're good with speed and PvP. But the ride ability could be a weird one, as when someone pulls up a shield, they may ride you. And this is a big inconvenience for both of you, but it's a very fun ability as well. But yeah, there's a lot to this origin, and it plays a big attacker in PvP. In 7th place, we have the Tauros. This thing's primary ability is to do this, and then you get speed 2, and then its default speed is very fast as well. They can apparently eat grass, but I've actually tried this, right click in the ground, nothing happens, giving myself grass block, giving myself this stuff, nothing happens. Please let me know if I'm getting something wrong. In fact, there are a couple of abilities with this origin that I just haven't seen working. You're a vegetarian, meaning you can't digest any meat. You have a tougher hide, allowing you to take more hits. Sorry, I just don't know what that means. And this horny ability here, I just don't know what it does. I'm really sorry. But yeah, they swim really slow in water and then are really, really fast on land. Onto the analysis, of course, the speed is always great for the PvP. And with this ability, it really works. For great getaways and chasing other players down. Swimming slow in water is just inconvenient. Just stay out of the water. Like I've said already, no shield is going to be a bummer at the beginning of the game, but later on in the game, just get a totem, put in your second hand instead of a shield. Not being able to eat meat is also a big bummer, but then again, later on in the game, golden carrots, golden apples, they're the thing, But overall, again, not much to say about this one. I think it's better than Daltog, simply because of the no armor drawback. And the drawbacks in this one are not that bad. But in 6th place we have the Golem. This thing is actually quite... Oh. This is nice. But yeah, this thing is fairly similar to the Tauros actually. So it goes faster, like this. Not as fast as Tauros though. You can do this. Quite similar to Tauros again. It has this horny ability. And has the feline jump ability, which is quite interesting combined with the speed. Can't digest any meat, like the Tauros. Can't handle a shield, but it never takes full damage. So this thing does actually have better mobility, despite Tauros being faster, simply because of the no fall damage and jump boost. No fall damage is great for ravines, and tons of other things. It's super useful. And if it didn't have this ability, it actually really sucked, because if you just saw then, whenever you do this, you take full damage. How annoying would that be? The dash ability is also great for PvP, and that's all I've got to say for the Golem, as many of its perks has already been covered by many other origins. In 5th place we have the LATO, also known as the P origin. So I'm sure you're already noticing the speed that it has, alongside the armor protection and loss of hearts. It can see in the dark. I'm not going to show an example because everyone knows what being able to see in the dark looks like in Minecraft. And it's also toggleable according to this game. But once it's been in the water for a fair amount of time, give it a second, yeah, there you go, boom, you'll start taking damage. It has this weird ability, can work out metallic poisoning. Again, what the hell, I'm sorry. And then there's this ability called Rage, where you basically lose half your health, but you get strength 2. So while the LATO is actually slower than the Tauros, it can hold a shield, and it's actually better to lose 3 hearts and have this armor protection than just have full hearts, but the loss of hearts is the only relevant drawback. Like always, the speed is great for PvP, and having night vision is very convenient for the general survival experience. I am not a fan of its ability. Why would you sacrifice half of your health when you could just make a potion to give yourself strength 2? When I first discovered this ability, I was thinking, This will be good for killing mobs at the start, but of course, you'll just lose your hunger trying to heal the health you lost. But overall, this thing is a very strong origin. In 4th place we have one of the beefy boys, the Warden, and it's actually fairly simple. It has more health, it's thicker, and it can reach from a longer distance. But because of this, you are slower. You can only eat meat, no vegetables for this thing. Once it loses a certain amount of hunger, it'll actually become blind. Like so. Complete blindness, cannot see much now. And just to add a finishing touch to its brute force, it has natural protection. So the Warden actually has the same brute force as Iron Golem, and being able to do more damage will just add to that brute force. The big hitbox is actually quite inconvenient, and it actually makes it harder to do clutches as well, because oh my god, because you're not used to being this tall, everything changes, trust me, try it out. This 5-block range is obviously insane, oh my. Whoosh! And it'll kind of work with the same syllabus theory that it works with Enderian. You know, you can hit them, they can't hit you, and it really assists the slower movement, because if you're slower, you're more likely to be comboed, but because you can hit really far, that's far less likely to happen. I find the blindness thing, not much of a big drawback, but it's a great feature, and I think being a carnivore is probably the biggest drawback, because like I said many times this video, no golden apples or golden carrots, golden your mum! In 3rd place, I've decided to rank the Iron Golem, and at first glance you can't really say this is much different to the Warden, but it is. Sort of, yeah, it is. So this thing does more damage with iron tools, it has the same brute force as the Warden. Apparently I live in a village. Like Warden, longer arms as well. Like Shulk, you can break stone without the need of a pickaxe, just do it with your bare fists. You exhaust much quicker than others, meaning you need more food, and relating to this, you can actually eat iron, and only iron. And finally you can do this. Yeet! But anyway, I think this thing has the most amount of brute force, probably more than the Warden, because of its more hearts, protection, range, but increased damage as well. Now the iron tools supposedly deal +5 more damage, but I've found that with all other things as well, so this usually does 10, and it should do 15. It did 15. But even if they removed that feature and made it so I couldn't use a netherite axe, I'd actually do more damage with an iron axe than netherite. So either way, it's great, and an extremely powerful ability. Only being able to eat iron is an advantage and a disadvantage. I mean sure, it's going to be harder to get early in game than actual food, and ironically, it'd be wise to create an iron farm. So I think living in a village is a big advantage, because if you're going to spawn in a village, you'll have access to all the resources, and you know, all speedrunners want a village, and so do you, so that's great. So yeah, advantages are crazy in this origin, but having the bigger size and being slower means that you can be cyberbullied by other origins that have speed. Or the inchling, because you know, you're larger, it's going to be harder to hit them, they can go around your huge hitbox, and if you do hit them with your fists, and they get flung up, they take no fall damage, so inchlings would be a good counter, but because of this range and the brute force, the Iron Golem will stand superior to most origins I know of that aren't insanely overpowered like number 1. So, in 2nd place, I've decided to rank the Nuclean. I'm really sorry if I said that wrong. Is it Nuclean? Nuclean? I'm saying Nuclean. If you like destruction and extremely dominant origin abilities, you'll love the Nuclean. So I think it's quite obvious by now that these things can create a huge, massive whole thing. And yeah, this affects blocks upon blocks of the terrain from there. And yeah, rip frame rate. It's kind of gone out the window a bit here, isn't it? But yeah, look at this. It's affected such a huge space. So on top of this, you can actually glide. You have an invisible elytra, and that's quite cool. The developers have kind of done that to represent it as a homing missile thing, and they've done a good job. And finally, if you go into water, you'll lose health. It's because you're hydrophobic. So the only actual drawback with this origin is hydrophobia. And like elytra, you're in your bomb with an elytra, except it's better because you can actually see your cape, which is hella cool. I'm not going to go into detail about why having a built-in elytra is really good, because it's obvious. But of course the main ability is the nuke. I'm not going to do it again because you've already seen it. And this will kill you every time you use it, no matter what armor, no matter what, it does not matter. You're dead unless you use a totem. People can counter your attacks with these totems, but in the meantime they'll still lose all of their armor, because no matter how good your armor is, it will break. But yeah, check this out. Full netherite, it doesn't matter if I have Unbreaking on it. Boom. All the netherite's gone. So you can basically destroy anyone's armor right there and then. And in theory, if you're just going on a suicide mission to just blow up your mate's house, or blow up an entire faction's base and all the people, this is exactly what you need. If there's going to be a most offensive origin, it's definitely this. And it's actually perfect for countering phantoms as well, because yeah, they're going to phase into the ground, you just blow up the ground. And this nuke ability is probably even better for single player, because you can just one-shot the Wither, the Ender Dragon, and other things you need to decimate by just putting your armor in a chest or something like that. You know, there's obviously ways. But yeah, check this out. Done. Easy. Destroyed. Hang on, imagine how beautiful a speedrun would be with the Nuclean. You just go, hey Ender Dragon, and he's gone. He's reduced to ends. But now, ladies and gentlemen, we're at the #1 spot. This dude is the savior, the all-seeing eye, the man himself. God. How could I not rank God at #1? Come on. So this absolute pog champ can walk on the water like Jesus can. These dudes have slow falling, jump boost, and elytra, alongside a shulk inventory, and then it traps things in webs like the arachnid does, alongside being able to climb walls as well. You get it, it's basically a combination of a ton of the original origin. When on fire you deal more damage, see in the dark, you'll reach blocks and entities further away. You have constant regeneration, your underwater speed is increased, underwater your vision is perfect, you have Merling abilities as well basically. You can break stone, you'll scare away creepers, you have natural protection like shulk, immune to potions and stuff like that, immune to fire, no fall damage, and yeah. Cool. So arguably, the only drawback that God has is the slow falling and not being able to have any potion effects. So that's actually a fairly big drawback now I'm thinking about it. But also the slow falling is not a drawback because it is very useful in some stages, but it's also very annoying, especially with the elytra. Having jump boost is great, and it does assist the elytra flight because you can just go wee like that. But not a great deal to say about this one because it's just so strong. But when testing out this bad boy, I did notice that it had ocean buffs, and of course you can't actually go into the ocean because you're Jesus. I overall don't think God should have a Jesus ability. You should leave that to Jesus. I think that's a bit of a dick move, but you can still enter the ocean, but just from the side. Another annoying thing with this origin is how it has toggleable climbing, but you actually have to press G to do it, and you toggle your shulker inventory. It's not that annoying, it's just I wish they used the secondary ability to toggle the climbing instead of using the primary one. And maybe for the secondary ability they could have included like the Elytrian's air launch thing or something like that. But yeah, this origin is extremely mobile, and by combining the constant regen, the 5-block reach, and many other things like speed, it's got to be #1 despite Nikilian still be able to one-shot it, because it's just ridiculous. But anyway, I hope you all enjoyed watching this video. I think I've been recording for about 2 hours now, and feel free to check out my streamed series. It's just a playlist you can find on my channel. Other than that, please leave your opinion in the comments, and I hope you have a nice day.